Fantastic. Boy, that sure puts it into context. And Governor Schwarzenegger and I will now welcome our moderator, Scott Pelley, back here to the podium and to the dais. And it's been my pleasure, of course, to help Governor Schwarzenegger with his climate policies. I want you to know it has not been one way, however. As you can see, he's been helping me with my bodybuilding. Scott Pelley.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, everyone. Great to be back with you for the afternoon session. The first thing I would like to do is invite our panelists to come up and please take a seat. You will find all of your names right there in front of the seat where you'll be sitting. We have a really unique opportunity today in this panel because we have representatives from Indonesia and representatives from Brazil, which are two of the greatest areas of biodiversity and rainforests in the entire world. Areas that are critically important to the health of our planet. It reminds me of a story that I did for 60 Minutes in Indonesia. We were doing a story about illegal forestry and how that was impacting the habitat of the orangutan. And I'm a bit of a still photographer, a hobbyist, and so I wanted to get some pictures of orangutans. So I rented this enormous 600-millimeter lens for my camera so I could get a picture of this elusive man of the forest. And my favorite photograph from that trip is a picture of me with this enormous lens, and on the end of the lens there's an orangutan holding the lens and looking back through the lens at me. It's a remarkable experience, and these are areas that we must preserve because they are some of the most magical places on Earth. With that, I will get started with the panel. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. I will start, as we did this morning, with the introductions, starting to my left, your right, Ambassador Angelos Pangratis, Deputy Head of Delegation of the European Commission to the United States of America. Next, Arief Yuwono, Secretary General, Ministry of the Environment from Indonesia. Also from Indonesia, Governor Yusef Irwandi, Province of Aceh. And Governor Fauzi Bawau, Province of Jakarta. Please welcome back Governor Jim Doyle, State of Wisconsin. Governor Schwarzenegger, of course, Governor Kathleen Sebelius of Kansas. And from the Federative Republic of Brazil, let me introduce Governor Blario Maggi, State of Mato Grosso. Governor Ana Julia Carepa, State of Para. And lastly, Governor Eduardo Braga from the State of Amazonia. Governor Schwarzenegger, let me ask you a question. You just flew back from Sacramento, where you were struggling with a budget deficit that you probably would not have imagined 6 months ago.
Do we have to talk about that here, too? Isn't it enough when I have to struggle up there in Sacramento?
But the question becomes, with jobs and mortgages on the line all across this country, how do you convince the American people that this is the issue that they should be paying attention to? How does the state of California continue to invest when you have such a budget deficit like so many other states?
Well, like I said earlier in my speech, I think that the question is not like how can we ask the people to participate in that. We know, and we see it firsthand in California, that actually green technology produces jobs and produces revenue for our state. And as I've said earlier, that if we wouldn't have those kind of technologies and if we wouldn't have such a diversified economy in California, where we rely on agriculture, where we rely on the movie business and the music business, on nanotechnology, biotechnology, green technology, and all those different industries. That's what is holding up our economy. And green technology is a big player, like I said earlier. When you go to a plant and you see that the day in this economic crisis, where everyone talks about laying off people, and then you see a company saying, we can't find enough people. We are hiring right now 1,000 more people, and they're renting this huge space of 1 million square feet warehouse and all this. You know that's the right direction to go, not only because it benefits the environment and it benefits that we can fight global warming, but it also creates jobs and revenues, which then, of course, we use those revenues for helping people with the various different programs, if it is education, healthcare, or keeping people in prisons, or making sure that law enforcement has enough money and so on.
Governor Doyle, can the state of Wisconsin continue to invest in all of these green initiatives that sounded like such great ideas last year, but now have to be viewed perhaps in a different way given the economy?
Well, we have to continue to invest, but I think probably given the economy, we're going to have to find and be more creative in how we do attract capital and how we do build that investment, whether it's from very early seed stage through tax credits and grants and other ways to get companies going, to moving them along the path to being full major companies. We also, I believe, in a state like Wisconsin, where we are a very heavy manufacturing state, have the opportunity to turn old manufacturing operations into great new, thriving, modern manufacturing businesses. So I think we simply have to make the investment. Fact is, we all don't have a lot of cash flowing around over the last couple of, as a result of what's happened the last couple of months in the world economy. So I think we are going to have to be creative and find ways to do it. But as I think we said earlier, and I agree completely with Governor Schwarzenegger, you can't go the other direction. I would hate to see us come out of our economic doldrums 2 years from now and find that we've moved 25 years backwards. That would be a terrible result of this.
I think I want to add that we have to do everything we can to give incentives to companies that deal with green technology. Like, for instance, we in California here have given great tax incentives to Tesla Motors. That is a company that is producing the electric car that goes from 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds and looks very attractive, and it is really a great invention. And so we want to help companies like that because that, again, brings a huge amount of jobs to the state.
I think a lot of people don't realize that electric cars are more powerful and faster than gasoline-powered cars.
It goes as fast, if not faster, than a turbo Porsche, even though a turbo Porsche is a spectacular car. Not to discredit the turbo Porsche, but that car, I mean, it really is amazing and no sound. And it goes 200, 250 miles before you have to charge it up. So it's really incredible, and that's the kind of company we would like to have in California, and that's why we gave them the incentive to stay here in California.
Governor Sebelius, it is often said that the United States is the Saudi Arabia of coal. And if my notes are correct, I believe about 65% of the energy in your state, Kansas, is produced by coal.
75%.
75%. I stand corrected. So the problem is even greater than I imagined. How do you replace that in a timely way? Is it possible?
Well, I think it is possible, and I think, like many states, we are trying to do several things simultaneously. We have just begun serious conservation and efficiency efforts, which actually lower overall the amount of energy we use, so it will extend our energy possibilities well into the future, and begun to harness this incredible asset. I like to think of Kansas as the Saudi Arabia of wind. We have an enormous asset which the farmers recognized 150 years ago. If you think about old farm scenes, there was always a windmill on a farm that drove power so that cattle received water and irrigation was possible. What we're trying to do is ramp that up dramatically and use most experts agree that about 20 to 25% of our power sources in the nation can come from wind. We're well under 1% right now. So there's an enormous potential there, not only in Kansas, but in states around the country. The sun shines in various of our states, and we haven't harnessed that power. But, Scott, I think the beginning of this program was inspirational because not only with our wonderful young performer, but with the high school students and the college students, this is a generational debate in our country. The kids are already there. they understand. They are already committed to making lifestyle changes, to making choices that might cost a little more up front, but sustain the planet into the future. We have to fight with the folks about changing lifestyles in the short term that get us that bridge strategy, and I think that's what we're all committed to doing.
Weren't the high school students great? I mean, how inspirational was that? Gives you hope, doesn't it? They were wonderful. Ambassador Pangratis, let me come down to you. In some sense, this conference is a bit of a curtain raiser for Copenhagen and where greenhouse gas emissions are going in the future here. And I wanted to find out, as a representative from the European Commission, where do you think we're headed in terms of success at Copenhagen? What are some of the challenges that remain before next year?
Thank you, Scott, for this opportunity. Allow me in a sentence to say to the governors, co-organizers of this important event, how grateful we are for the opportunity to be with them and participate to this excellent initiative. We have heard during these 2 days so many good initiatives, so many goodwill, so many people committed to efforts that go in the right direction. But I think the real question, as Governor Schwarzenegger mentioned, is it really all this enough? And from our point of view, we believe that yes, it can be enough, but there is one condition to that. And this condition, probably the more important for the foreseeable future, is the success in Copenhagen. We need to create the agreement that will provide the general framework that we will put everybody around Earth, all the nations around Earth, in a coherent effort to really meet the challenge that we are facing. Now, from the EU point of view, we believe that we have prepared ourselves for this process. We have our targets, and we believe that we can be successful. We need leadership. We need leadership for others. We need leadership from this great nation, and we have great hope that in the new era that started already in this country, we will find what is needed to ensure a success. If I'm to summarize what we think is going to be necessary, it will be, I can make it very brief, it will be for the developed countries to lead the reduction of the emissions. We believe that we need to have reductions from the developed countries between 25 and 40% compared with the 19 levels by 2020. So we need targets that commit everybody to results. We need commitments from the developing countries. Of course, not at the same level. We need the developing countries to take unprecedented commitments, but of course commitments that we refer to as we compare to the business as usual. We talk about reductions of between 15 and 30% of the level of the business as usual. We need to support developing countries to move in that direction, but we need a real commitment from them in order to create the confidence for the developed countries to produce real reduction in their emissions. In other words, we believe that very much that we need to lead by example, and that's what we are trying to do. We have defined our own disciplines. We said that we will reduce our emissions autonomously, if need be, by at least 20% until 2020, and by 30% if there is a global agreement. We need to lead by example. I repeat myself, but it's so important. In other words, we see this as a great challenge, Scott. A challenge which is probably unprecedented in international relations. We need the whole world on the same basis. We need to be able to share responsibility. We need to have a situation where the stronger use their strength not to impose solutions on others, but to assume more responsibility and give the example to others that need to follow. So I don't think we can afford to be pessimistic about Copenhagen. It's an effort to which we have to anticipate success, and success is within our reach if the commitment of everybody is there.
So let me pin you down. Let me pin you down. You're predicting success at Copenhagen?
I'm saying that we're working very hard for success in Copenhagen. And I hope we will get it all together, yes.
Thank you, Ambassador, very much.
Thank you.
Governor Braga, give us a snapshot, if you would. You're the governor of Amazonia. Give me a snapshot of the situation in the rainforest in the Amazon and the things that are being done in Brazil to try to stop deforestation there.
Well, first of all, we need to understand that the global-wide, the emissions of greenhouse gas, like 75%, 80% is from fossil fuel, as Governor Schwarzenegger said. But around 20% is because of deforestation. In Brazil, is exactly in the other words. In Brazil, the gas emissions are like 70% because of deforestation, and 30% because of fossil fuel. So cut deforestation in Brazil is a very high priority if you want to face the global warming and if you want to face the climate change. But the answer for that is how we are going to preserve our rainforest. And to preserve our rainforest, we must remember that we have people who live by the rainforest. So the key drivers of deforestation in the rainforest, in my opinion, is poverty and lack of education. So if the world wants to help us to mitigate the climate change and to mitigate the deforestation in rainforest, they must help us to give to our people new standards of living and give them better quality of life to the future. So what we are doing in Brazil right now, and in my state especially, we are investing a lot in the quality of life and education, and also how can we give for the stand forest much more economic value against the deforestation and against the land forestry. We know the world needs food, the world needs soybeans, the world needs biodiesel, biofuel, but I know also that the world needs the environmental services that our forest can provide. So I think this is the deep point, as Governor said here, and I think that we can work together and we can improve not only the preservation of the rainforest, but also the quality of the life of the people who lives there. And I think the memorandum of understanding that we signed here yesterday and the declaration that we are going to sign in a few minutes is a step ahead in this direction. So I am an optimist, and I believe really that Governor Schwarzenegger and all the governors co-host us here in California are a hope for everyone in Brazil and everyone in the rainforest looking for the future, that together we can fight against the climate change, and we can fight against the deforestation, and we can fight against the poverty, giving for the future hopefulness for all the young people in the world.
Just a quick housekeeping note for the folks doing our translation services. I'm going to be coming to Governor Carepa in just a moment, so if you want to stand by for that and get everything necessary for the translation. Before we do that, let me come over to Arief Yuwono, the Secretary General, Ministry of the Environment of Indonesia. Mr. Secretary, Indonesia has recently completed a national action plan on the environment, and I wonder what some of the main tenets of the action plan are. What are you trying to accomplish?
First, I'd like to thanks to California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. You are very famous in my country. There was just I'll be back still, you know. It's my mind. As you are aware, Indonesia is the largest archipelagic state in the world, consisting of major islands and almost 18,000 islands. Indonesia is a mega biodiversity, not only for biodiversity, but also social culture dimension. Therefore, our national motto is unity in diversity. However, due to its geographical and demographical condition, Indonesia is vulnerable to the various impact of climate change, such as sea level rise and an increase of temperatures. This is the reason why Indonesia is very active in joining global effort to tackle climate change. Although Indonesia is non-Annex 1 country, Indonesia ratified the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1994, then ratified the Kyoto Protocol 2004 to be the host of UNFCCC COP13 in Bali last year, 2007, and published a national action plan to combat climate change in 2007. Recently, in order to strengthen coordination among department agency and to power Indonesia in international negotiation on climate change, Indonesia established what we call it the National Council on Climate Change. That is headed directly by President of Republic Indonesia. This commitment to combat global warming is implemented through several activities at the national, provincial, and the regency level, with different tasks and responsibility. This program includes a national movement for land rehabilitation, and then toward Green Indonesia program, forest fire control and poverty alleviation, national energy mix policy, and our governor Jakarta have a car-free day movement, and then also in forestry sector, there is a task force of REDD that with the responsibility to review and to approve the proposal.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Governor Carepa, your state of Para in the Amazon has more than 7 million people. And I wonder how you pursue economic development for those 7 million people and save the rainforest at the same time.
Esse é o maior desafio.
This is our biggest challenge.
Buscar o desenvolvimento
To try for the
ao mesmo
economical
tempo
development at the same
e
time
preservar a floresta
that we
amazônica.
conserve
Considerando
the
que,
rainforest.
mesmo sendo o Brasil dos países
Taking into consideration that even though Brazil is one of the countries in development, that it's not one of the countries with goals to achieve in regards to the decrease of emissions, the whole country of Brazil is making efforts to decrease the emissions of greenhouse gases.
especialmente,
So, in Amazon, in the Amazon region, since you can see here 3 governors from 3 different states that belong to the same region, which is the Amazon region,
que tem a maior parte da floresta
which
tropical
contains
da
the
Amazônia.
largest part of the Amazon
E
forest.
a importância hoje das florestas tropicais, ela vai
So,
além
the
da
importance of the rainforest
capacidade
today
de
goes
sequestrar o carbono.
beyond the ability
Porque
to
o que essas
recover
florestas
from the carbon
produzem, o que
emissions.
elas
What
conseguem
these forests
fazer em relação
what
as chuvas,
they create in
em
terms of
relação
rain,
à qualidade
in
do
terms
meio
of
ambiente,
quality,
é muito grande,
environmental
é muito
quality,
importante.
it's
Então, o
beyond
nosso
comprehension.
desafio hoje é combinar
So our
desenvolvimento, uma
obstacle
atividade
today is
econômica
how to create an
que
economical
possa
activity
garantir a sobrevivência
ensure
da nossa população
the
com
survival of
qualidade
our
de vida,
population with
ao
a certain
mesmo
quality of
tempo
life,
que essa
and at
atividade
the same
econômica
time,
possa
this activity
significar o combate ao desmatamento.
has to have
No
some
nosso estado, por
significance
exemplo,
in terms of
nós
fighting
lançamos
deforestation.
programa,
For
uma
example, in
meta
our
ousada,
state, we have a
reflorestar
very, very
em
ambitious
5
goal.
anos
We want to do the
bilhão
reforestation
de árvores
in 5 years
no estado do Pará.
using 1 billion trees.
Pois bem, mas se o
But
mundo não compreender, e é
if
por
the
isso que
world
eu
doesn't
parabenizo
understand,
o
and
governador
that's why I would
Schwarzenegger,
like
os
to
demais
congratulate
governadores
the
que
Governor
organizam
Schwarzenegger and the other
esta conferência,
governors who are
a compreensão
co-hosting
de
this
que
conference.
não é
So
suficiente
if
diminuir
the understanding
as emissões de gases, mas é importante preservar as florestas.
well, we need to
E que nós
understand that
possamos, em
it's not only
Copenhague,
enough to
incluir
reduce the
o
emissions,
RED,
but we need to preserve
que
the
é
forests, and we need in Copenhagen to include
a
RED,
redução de emissões
which is the
do
reduction of
desmatamento, da
emissions due
degradação da
to
floresta.
deforestation and
Por quê?
degradation.
Porque
Why?
se nós não entendermos que não basta diminuir, mas
Because if we do not
preservar
understand that we
aquelas
need
que são
not only
para o meio
to
ambiente,
guarantee the
para
preservation
as
of
chuvas,
everything that is important
e,
for the
portanto, para
environment and for the
evitar
rains,
catástrofes,
to
que
avoid
são as
catastrophes,
florestas, em
and
especial as florestas
especially
tropicais,
the main
que têm uma eficiência
factor in
maior
this are
do que outras
the
florestas.
rainforests,
sentido,
which are
nós não
really
vamos conseguir
more
realmente
important than the
mudar
other forests.
efetivamente o clima global.
Without this, we are not going to be
E
able to
isto
change
só se
the
fará
global
se combinarmos
situation.
essa atividade
This goal will
com
only be
atividade de
achievable
combate
if we
à
combine
pobreza.
this activity with the activity
Na
of fighting
Amazônia
against
tem
poverty.
floresta, mas tem gente,
In Amazon,
tem milhões
we
de
have
pessoas
forests, but we have
que
people.
querem viver
We have
com qualidade
millions
de
of
vida.
people trying
E
to
é essa
live a
qualidade
life
de
with
vida,
some
com a
quality.
televisão,
And it's this quality of
com a
life
jacuzzi,
with the same TV,
que as
with the
pessoas
same
também
jacuzzi you
querem ter
mentioned,
direito de
that
ter na
people
Amazônia.
want to have the right to
E esse
possess in
direito,
the Amazon
elas
region.
terão, se
They
nós
will have this
conseguirmos
right
combinar essa
if we
atividade
combine this economical
florestal
activity
de
in the
valorizar
forest,
a floresta em pé, se nós
even,
conseguirmos combinar
remembering
isto
also that it's important to
com,
keep the forest standing. So if we
atividades
can
de
combine
preservação
this with
da floresta.
preservation
Então,
activities,
aí
that's
vem
the only
a
way to achieve these
importância
goals.
dessa combinação
That's
que
the
eu quero
importance
até
of this
discordar
combination.
pouco
And I would like actually to disagree a little from the ambassador when he says that we all have the same responsibilities. I would like to say that the goals are the same. We have the same responsibilities because we are aware of the importance of this rainforest for us and for the world. But there's no doubt that the responsibility of those countries who have been issuing gases to the atmosphere, their responsibility is much, much higher. And everybody has to burden their responsibilities. And that's responsibility that we want everybody to share in order to guarantee a better world. And we are doing our part. And we are happy because here, many people are recognizing this. And I was actually really happy with the declaration of the President-elect Obama and with his commitment with the reduction of emissions. And I'm sure that he will be present to the signature in the next conference in Copenhagen.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. Governor Schwarzenegger just leaned over and whispered in my ear, "You got to love the passion." Indeed you do. Governor Irwandi, province of Aceh in Indonesia, I know that your country, the world's largest archipelago, has struggled with illegal deforestation, illegal forestry, illegal gold mining in some parts of your country. And I'm wondering what steps your country is taking to preserve the rainforest and to prevent that kind of deforestation today.
Thank you. I wish I could speak in Indonesian language, but I'm aware there are no translator for that. So please kindly accept my broken English. My answer to that question is quite similar to one by Governor Braga from Abandona. We have been proposing Green Aceh vision since 2007 to combat global warming. You asked me about how to combat deforestation. Deforestation in I don't say in Indonesia, I only say in my province in Aceh, is mostly caused by not illegal loggers, but legal loggers, corporate loggers. They bring heavy machinery to cut the forest in the past. While illegal loggers are only poor farmer, which couldn't find any other job other than cutting 1 or 2 trees a day and selling the log. That can be easily diverted into something else, some other activity, if the economy possible. So I come up with a proposal of Aceh Green. This Aceh Green has 2 components, which are forest and degraded land. Aceh has 3 million existing forests, 2 million in national park and its buffer zone, and 1 million is a production forest. But since 2007, I declare moratorium on all logging, meaning even production forests no longer allowed to be chopped. And for the degraded land, where Aceh economy will base on, I want to develop more forests. Out of 1 million hectares, there are 250,000 hectares will be dedicated for the reforestation, as well as equal number will be dedicated to community forestry, and the rest will be dedicated for economic and livelihood, choosing the green method, the green economy. And we have deficiency in power sector. Aceh has 100 megawatts deficient. We need to cope with that. But we don't want to resort to using fossil fuel for the powerhouse. We are planning to use hydropower and geothermal. In these 2 sources, amounting million of not million, sorry, 1,000 of megawatt. But we need technology, and enough budget to do that.
Governor,
meanwhile,
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay. That we can do our share, our part in that. Because we are the forest owner. We will keep the forest, and even we want to reforest. And I put requests on developed countries to really cut emission. Don't cut emission here in the conference room or in seminar, but really do it. You do it. Although I don't drive a hybrid Humvee like Arnold do, why I drive a humble Wrangler, not hybrid one. But to compensate to that car, I already planned personally 3,000 trees for that.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor, very much. You're never going to live down the Hummer. You know that. I mean, you're going to be tagged with that forever.
I love it. And especially love it that they have proven that you can make a Hummer that used to go 10 miles per gallon into a hydrogen Hummer, which I have, and also another Hummer we turned over to a biofuel Hummer, and now we're working on one to make one electric. So you can change. The key thing is, like I said earlier, is about technology. Technology will save us all. We just have to find ways to do it. You don't have to give up the Hummer or the airplane or any of those things.
Governor Maggi of the state of Mato Grosso in Brazil, I'm curious. Brazil has shown a tremendous amount of economic might in the last several years, a great amount of technology and technological innovation. I am wondering whether there is anything else that the rest of the developed world can do to help you and your fellow governors in the fight to save the rainforest.
Bem, o Brasil realmente é um país que lidera há muitos anos essa questão da energia alternativa e atividades mais ligadas ao meio ambiente. O Brasil fez a sua grande virada na matriz energética na década de 70, quando o primeiro choque
energetic reality when we had the first oil crisis. That was in the 70s. At that time, the Brazilian government started a new program to produce ethanol. At that time, that was called Pro-Álcool.
E hoje nós podemos dizer que praticamente a metade da nossa frota de veículos é movida com combustível alternativo. E até o ano de 2020, 80% da frota brasileira estará sendo movida já com etanol. Nós temos inclusive aviões agrícolas que
now we have even airplanes used for agricultural purposes that are also fueled by ethanol. We don't use fossil fuels for some of our air activities, as you see. So Brazil has a very interesting energy profile, and I think it has a lot to contribute to this green and self-sustaining policies. I think other countries can help us by, just like Governor Carepa and Governor Braga mentioned. I think the way we can help to preserve the Amazon forests, and what I can say in respect to this forest of the 61% of the Brazilian territory that is part of the Amazon forest, we are using some part of it to create agriculture for agricultural purpose, and for others as well. Therefore, the Amazon is still a lot of the Brazilian territory, and it needs to be preserved. However, we cannot simply remove the people that depend on those areas, or simply without giving the opportunity of also having a decent life. And we have to allow them to be able to study, to have access to health, infrastructure, that other states also have. So we need to take these benefits. So that is the big question mark. How are we going to have growth, maintain a horizontal growth, and without adding new spaces for production, but now we need a vertical form of production, such as in my state, the state of Mato Grosso. Mato Grosso is the greatest producer of soybeans. It's responsible for 30% of the soybean, and it also produces half of the cotton produced in Brazil, and we also export cotton. And the greatest part of it, perhaps 90% of it, is export directly to Asia or to Europe. So we simply use up a lot of fossil fuels, generating a lot of carbon, and we also end up losing jobs because we export raw materials. So the great projects, and we would like to count with your help, we would like to have states such as Mato Grosso that produce food that is fuel, not fossil fuel, but food for people. We would like to take some industry to be able to transform these raw materials into protein and be able to export a package of a fully finalized manufactured product. Instead of shipping a ton of raw food to Asia, we would like perhaps take 200 or 400 pounds of food that is effectively going to be consumed. So you will be able to transform the protein vegetable into something else. So we are looking into that. Another point, in order to help to prevent deforestation and actually to suspend deforestation in the Amazon, we need world help, including programs that have been discussed in this forum that are also participating in Bali. So people that live in the Amazon and people that need that basically need to be provided on alternative forms of income in order not to depend on the forest. So I do believe that other countries can help Brazil, and especially my state, that is a great producer, that has an internal conflict between preservation and increase of production. So we could be helped by establishing these two types of policies. But the government of the state of Mato Grosso, the Mato Grosso society, already understood that is no longer useful. We cannot disallow that to happen because the federal laws that prevent that, we are no longer interested. We are no longer going to allow new areas for production for agricultural use. We are going to verticalize. So, and if we can be helped that way, other states will help not only our state, but the Amazon, and the Amazon, say Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, which are countries that also share our forest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you very much for that. Governor Bow Wow, province of Jakarta, you have 12 million people in Jakarta. I beg your pardon?
I have no forest at all.
No forest at all.
Like Los Angeles or New York.
You have no forest, but you do have 12 million people in Jakarta.
That's right.
And something you were telling me on the order of 72% of the air pollution comes from automobiles.
That's correct.
Give me some sense of the issues that you face in the big city, the dense city, and perhaps how the developing world and developed world can cooperate to solve some of those problems.
Yes, we are here to learn from other people's experiences as how to cope with that kind of problem. But before I go on to that point, Scott, allow me to say something. We have heard about the world leaders' commitment to fight the global climate change. We have heard about the need for cooperation, to cooperate together. We also heard that economic and environment should not be put in contrary to each other. But don't forget one element which is very important to take into consideration. It's the fact it's the community that will deal with all these problems on a day-to-day basis. We need to educate each and every community governor of the Amazon mentioned. And everybody knows about that. But how to do that? Because we think globally, but we need to act locally. We need to educate people that they will take advantage of every step towards sustainability. But how do we do it? Nobody addressing this issue. This is part of our responsibility. I hope that this will be addressed in another meeting, but this is necessity. This is a necessity, and this is necessary to be addressed as soon as possible and as effective as possible. So go back to your response. Thank you. Thank you. And let's go back to your response. So we're having as many motor vehicles as I think the numbers in Los Angeles. Yeah. I'm here to learn as how to control the air pollution. I heard a lot from Governor Schwarzenegger that there's a strict policy on that. But there again, different situation needs different kind of policy to be addressed. So, but we know there are solutions around the world, and we're going to do that. The first step that we're going to do is improve the public transport. I know that they're fighting in Los Angeles to improve the public transport, but it's never too late. We are building up, at the moment, at current situation, we have the longest bus rapid transit system in the world, in Jakarta, and all powered by gas, by CNG. Compressed natural gas. Indonesia is the largest gas-producing country, but we now shifting the usage of not for export any longer, but we're going to use it more for domestic purposes. That's one point. The second point, we also starting the construction of our subway network. It is a very expensive undertaking, but it is badly needed for a city like Jakarta. That we also encourage people to use gas in their respective households, because this will automatically also reduce the air pollution at the same time. We implementing the strict restriction for usage of private cars. Any measurement that is known to the world, we are studying carefully, and we would very much like to implement it in the future. One thing that I would like to emphasize is, the understanding is there, the need to clean up the world is there, and to implement a sustainable development in the future, but there's still a big struggle, a big question as how to get there. Yeah. So I'm confident that if we can intensively change our information, and one other point, also closely work together on research and development in looking for alternative energy, for example. Developed countries, they have their own ways as how to do research and development. Developing country, we don't have the fund to do that. So, but we are the one who's going to implement it. So I would appreciate very much if we could be involved in a network of research and development as well. Thank you.
Governor, thank you very much. Just very quickly, that reminds me of when I took my daughter to New Delhi a few years ago. She was 10 years old at the time. And on the plane, I was trying to brace her for the experience of the air pollution in New Delhi. And based on my previous experience, and I said, honey, now this is going to burn your eyes. It's going to get in your clothes. You're going to smell like the air when you go to the hotel at the end of the day. You really need to brace yourself for this. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced in your life. We get off the plane. Sky is blue. Air is sweet. And I cannot believe my eyes. And what happened was, in a period of less than 2 years, the government mandated that virtually all the vehicles in the capital city had to run on compressed natural gas. And it just solved the problem almost overnight in the most astonishing way. And it was just an example to me of how solutions are possible, and dramatic changes in the environment can be done in a relatively short period of time if there is the political will to force these things to happen. Before I go to Governor Schwarzenegger for a closing thought on the signing ceremony, let me just first of all thank the governor for the leadership that brought all of this together. It's a really extraordinary thing. Let me also take just a second to thank all of the delegations who came to the conference. Our friends from China, thank you so much. From Mexico, India, Indonesia, and Brazil, we are so grateful for your participation. Governor Schwarzenegger, the next thing that we are going to witness, or soon will witness, is the signing ceremony at the end of this conference. And I wonder if you could tell us, all of us in the audience, what we should take from that. What's the take-home message here?
Well, I think that what is so fantastic about this is that all of these countries and various different states have come together here and have taken, on our invitation and this challenge and discussing it and going into detailed discussions on solving some of those problems. And I think that more than just that we're signing an agreement, what is most important to me is that I'm much more internationally thinking, because I come from overseas, I come from Austria, and I'm an immigrant here. So I totally relate to the various different countries and states, maybe in a different way, because I understand that each state and each country has totally different challenges and make it very difficult, and also have different histories of maybe having never contributed to the greenhouse gas problem that we have, and have maybe another problem, the deforestation, for instance. And it just shows to you that if we sit down and understand their challenges and understand their own struggles and also understand where their economy is and their history and all this, I think that we can make decisions that and find that sweet spot in Copenhagen so that we can resolve this and come to an agreement where we can move that next step. But we must carefully listen to every single person that has spoken today, and there's many others out there all around the world, because that is the mistake that a lot of times is made, that we think that we now have an idea and the rest of the world has to fall in line. But that's not what ought to be happening, because the fact of the matter is America has been the biggest polluter of any country in the world up until recently. And we have the big responsibility. And as a country, we have not taken on that responsibility. Washington has not taken on the responsibility of having an energy policy or an environmental policy. And this is why I was so enthusiastic to listen to the message of President-elect Obama to say that he wants to adopt the same regulations we have by making a commitment to roll back the greenhouse gases nationwide by 25% to the 1990 level, and also to take on the challenge of renewable energy. We now have 1 to 2% renewables nationwide. We in California, our goal is 33%. America should have the goal of 33%. So those are huge jumps forward. And then when we show that we are willing to roll back the damage that we have caused, then it's easier to go to the rest of the world and to little countries that are struggling economically and to go and say, you should come and do the same thing. So the bottom line is, there's great days ahead, and I see a great future for America, and therefore a great future for this treaty in Copenhagen. Thank you.
Governor, thank you. When I was thanking all of our friends who came from so far away, I neglected our dear cousins in Canada. So forgive me for that, all of you, but thank you very much to the Canadian delegation as well.